get started with today's initiative and today's symposium. It is a part of a broader initiative and broader program here at Adams State University. We want to focus on how do we connect to key impact here in the San Luis Valley. What makes an impact? And water is one of those critical resources. It's a critical resource for several reasons. First of all, because it's finite, it's limited. If we had unlimited supplies of water, we probably wouldn't be here this morning thinking about it. The other part is very culturally connected to us. We truly believe it as lifeblood. My family came into the San Luis Valley as Rio indicated, as part of that migration from what was New Spain at the time, and then converted over into Mexico, and then ended up here in the San Luis Valley in the latter part of the 1860s, 1870s. And growing up, it was always about the water, the focus on the water, the highlight of the water. And so I made a conscious decision in my life, and actually disrupted my professional career, to come back to the San Luis Valley. Not because my professional career was more important, just because the lifestyle of seeing the next generation, and I'm the 5th generation to continue on this opportunity going forward with agriculture and working with water. It's very passionate to us. And so we're going to hear perspectives today that talk about economic perspectives, cultural perspectives, community perspectives, and all those need to be shared again with this cultural resource. Because it's such a culture, because it is such a critical resource, we also want to emphasize the awareness and education. This symposium is intended to offer a spectrum of knowledge, education, and awareness, all the way from individuals who have been working with water their entire lifetime to the introductory person that's just starting to learn about water battles here in the San Luis Valley, Colorado, and the Western states. So if you're just learning about it, that means you must just be getting your introduction to Colorado as a whole, because as we look into water and water discussions, they sometimes can get a little bit anxious and a little bit contentious. But part of our symposium program today is about how do we make it productive? How do we find ways to use this critical resource for all of us to be able to benefit while still balancing all those different perspectives, as I indicated and mentioned earlier. So welcome. And I think we're going to start with our first polling question to try to make it a little interactive. So if you were thinking about getting up and getting that cup of coffee, hold on real quick, because we want to start with the first polling question. And so the first polling question should be up, and I believe Angie or Michael's going to be able to help me with it. But it's going to talk about where do you live? And it talks about try to get us an idea of who's with us today in this symposium. So if you could please take a few moments to fill this out. We have the Rio Grande Basin here in the San Luis Valley, and we're kind of limiting that to the San Luis Valley. Southern Colorado as a whole, all the way from our neighbors from the southeast and southwest, joining us here in South Central Colorado. The Front Range in Colorado, which has a very important influence because there's a lot of people in the Front Range. The Western Slope of Colorado. The Western Slope has water issues that they know well within their basins. And then if you're outside of Colorado, if you could please indicate that. So good deal. So hopefully you were able to fill it out. So do you see the large portion you're coming from right here in the San Luis Valley? See this as the critical discussion that we need to have about our water. People from the Front Range joining us, that second level of population. And then you'll see we have some other people from Southern Colorado and outside of Colorado. So next year, Rio, we're going to have to work on more promotion on the Western Slope so we can get some individuals involved and learn more about the Colorado River Basin. And so thank you for completing that poll. Your next polling question, we do have one more before we get started with the program. And we want to know kind of what you think about your relationship with the Rio Grande River or the Rio Grande Basin. And so this one is you can check all that apply. You do not just have to check one of them. And so as Angie gets it up again, you can have several different options, and you can choose several of those different options. So you see about that relationship in the Rio Grande or in Colorado in general with water. And are you just interested? Are you concerned about the water future, water rights? Are you a water rights holder? Are you a surface irrigator? Are you a groundwater irrigator? Do you serve on a water board, commission, or committee? Do you work professionally in the water world? Or are you concerned with a whole Colorado perspective, and maybe as water relates to that? Concerned with downstream perspective and issues that may take that water from Colorado to New Mexico to Texas to Mexico, and then finally, do you like to play in it? Recreation as a part of it, and maybe there's I can't remember if there's one more. Use it in ice cubes. I don't know if that was one of the options. Fine, but someone mentioned that water is critical because you need ice for your whiskey. They've always said ice or whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting. Let's hope there's no fights today. Good deal. We should see results here. So look at that. Look at the concern. You know, the large majority of people talked about the concern of the water future. And that's part of the water education initiative here at Adams State University and the Salazar Rio Grande del Norte Center is to, how do we calm some of those fears? How do we work through some of these issues, problems that may impact our water future? How do we find productive and viable solutions that not only assist today's generation, but generations into the future? And I see that many of you share that same amount of concern. Interested in general, you know, water, we talked about, very, very significant resource in our society. We all need it. We all need it to live. We're not just talking about from an economic perspective. We're talking about from a physiological, biological, I need water to live perspective. Not only should we be drinking, what is our what is it, 8 cups of water per day? We also need it to produce food. So very, very important. And then you see about the whole Colorado perspective. Water is key and part of that whole perspective. It's integrated into the Colorado Constitution. So they saw water as being a very important issue and very important resource for at that time, at this time, and I can continue to imagine in the future. There's several individuals that have this as a property right. You see the water rights holders that are here with surface and groundwater about equally represented. So thank you for identifying that. And then we have quite a bit of leadership that are joining us today. So thank you very much. And we want your expertise. We're going to ask for questions. But again, if you're in that introductory stage, you're a novice to some of this water information, put out your questions. And that's why we have those professionals and leaders here today to help answer those. So thank you very much for completing those polls. And like I said, we're going to try to make this as interactive as possible and try to find a way to use the technology to our benefit.